The signal from the silent world, the deep space monitoring station Kethvar, drifted through the void between star systems, its sensors sweeping the cosmic dark for any trace of intelligent communication. Commander Zexhai stretched his forearms and checked the chronometer. Another 14-hour shift monitoring the silence that had emanated from the Sol system for 5 decades. Earth had gone quiet in 2387, right after the Galactic Council's final ultimatum. The humans had been given a choice: submit to galactic law and accept their designated role as a labor species, or face isolation until they learned their place. The galaxy had expected begging, pleading, maybe even a desperate attack. Instead, they got silence. 50 years of absolute silence. Zexhai was about to begin his rest cycle when the proximity alarm screamed through the station. His translator implant buzzed as the automated systems detected something impossible. A transmission from Earth, cutting through space with a clarity that suggested technology far beyond what humans had possessed. The signal was simple: broadcast. On every frequency simultaneously. 3 words in perfect galactic standard: "We are ready." Within hours, the emergency session of the Galactic Council convened on Nexus Prime. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Great Chamber, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and electronic pulses. Ambassador Krillnox, the jellyfish-like Aquarian who served as council moderator, floated at the center of the assembly. "Esteemed members," Krillnox's voice resonated through the translation matrix. "After 50 years of silence, the humans have sent a message. 3 words: we are ready. The question before us is simple: ready for what?" The Vorthak military advisor, General Thekmor, slammed his armored fist against his speaker platform. "Ready to surrender, obviously. 50 years of isolation must have broken their spirit. I recommend we send a small fleet to accept their submission." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, but Dr. Yil Nara, the insectoid chief scientist, raised a concern. "The transmission technology they used shouldn't exist. Our analysis suggests they've achieved faster than light communication without quantum entanglement. That's theoretically impossible." Humans were always clever with their primitive technologies, dismissed Counselor Vextar of the crystal-based silicates. "Desperation breeds innovation. We should proceed with the acceptance of their surrender." Ambassador Krillnox pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that indicated deep thought. "Perhaps. But wisdom suggests caution. I propose we send an investigation. Team first. A small multi-species crew to assess the situation." The vote was unanimous. Within a galactic standard week, the exploration vessel Truthseeker was assembled with representatives from 5 species. Commander Zexhai as mission leader, Dr. Yilnara for scientific analysis, Captain Moxvara of the warrior Carillion race for security, Navigator Silden from the energy-based ethereals, and most controversially, Dr. Mira Thorne. Dr. Thorne was unique in the galaxy. A perfect android replica of a human female, created 51 years ago as an attempt at diplomatic bridge building. She contained within her neural matrix the complete cultural and historical database of humanity, along with emotional protocols that made her more human than artificial. She had volunteered for the mission despite the obvious risks. "Why do you wish to see your creator's homeworld?" Zexhai asked her as they prepared for departure. Mira's brown eyes, so perfectly human they made some species uncomfortable, met his compound gaze. "Because I dream of Earth, Commander. Every night in my rest cycle I dream of a world I've never seen, and lately, those dreams have been changing." The journey to Sol system took 18 standard days. As they approached the outer planets, their sensors revealed the first surprise. Jupiter's moons had been completely restructured. What had once been barren rocks were now perfect spheres covered in a metallic lattice that pulsed with energy, signatures unlike anything in galactic databases. "By the core fires," whispered Captain Moxvara. "What did they do?" Dr. Yilnara's compound eyes processed the data streams flowing across her screens. "It appears they've turned the entire Jovian system into some kind of computational matrix. The energy output is..." astronomical. As they continued toward Earth, more impossibilities revealed themselves. Mars gleamed like a red jewel, its surface covered in structures that defied physics, buildings that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The asteroid belt had been completely reorganized into perfect geometric patterns that served purposes their instruments couldn't fathom. But it was Earth itself that stopped them cold. The blue-green world they expected was gone. In its place hung a sphere of pure white light, so brilliant it overwhelmed their visual sensors. Energy readings fluctuated beyond their instruments' ability to measure. Most disturbing of all, the planet seemed to exist in a state of quantum superposition, simultaneously. There and not there, solid and ethereal. It's not possible, Dr. Yilnara chittered in distress. Matter cannot exist in that state. The planet should have collapsed into a singularity, or dispersed into energy. Navigator Silden, whose energy-based existence allowed him unique perspectives, pulsed with confusion. I can sense something vast within that light. Not just intelligence, consciousness on a scale I've never encountered. It's as if the entire planet has become a single thinking entity. As they established orbit, their communications array activated without their input. The ship's screens flickered, and suddenly they were looking at a conference room that couldn't exist. The space was impossibly vast yet intimate, filled with soft lighting that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. At a simple wooden table sat 12 figures. They were human in form but clearly transcendent. Their appearance shifted subtly, sometimes showing the faces of children, sometimes ancient elders, sometimes abstract representations of concepts like hope, determination, or love. When they spoke, it was with one voice that somehow contained the harmonics of millions. "Welcome," the collective said. "We are humanity. We are Earth. We are what you forced us to become." Commander Zexai found his voice first. We came to accept your surrender. Your message said you were ready." The 12 figures smiled, an expression that was both beautiful and terrifying. "We are ready, but not to surrender, Commander Zexai. We are ready to judge." Dr. Thorne stepped forward, her android nature allowing her to process what the others could not. Judge. Judge what? Judge the galaxy that chose genocide over coexistence. Judge the civilizations that demanded our extinction rather than accept our equality. Judge the council that gave us 50 years to learn our place while secretly planning our complete eradication. The words hit the investigation team like physical blows. Captain Moxavara's warrior pride flared. "We never planned genocide. We offered you a place in galactic society." The collective's unified gaze turned to him, and for a moment, the conference room flickered, showing glimpses of something vast and terrible. Fleets of ships, weapons of mass destruction, detailed plans for the final solution to the human problem that had been classified beyond even military clearance. Did you, Captain? Or did your species, along with 36 others, begin construction of planet-killer weapons the moment our communication ceased? Are your fleets not already moving toward this system, believing they come to claim a surrendered world? Dr. Yilnara's scientific mind reeled. How do you know about classified military operations? How do you know about weapons that exist only in theoretical planning stages? Because, the collective replied gently, we are no longer bound by the limitations of single-planet existence. We are quantum consciousness, existing across multiple dimensions simultaneously. We see all timelines, all possibilities, all the futures you've planned for our species. Navigator Silden pulsed with sudden understanding. You've achieved technological singularity. You've transcended physical existence while maintaining your essence. More than that, the collective continued, we've achieved unity. Every human consciousness, living and dead, past and future, exists within this collective awareness. We are 7 billion individual minds choosing to act as one. We are what you feared we would become. The conference room shifted, and suddenly the team found themselves viewing the true scope of humanity's transformation. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a node in a vast network that stretched across dimensions. They saw other worlds, other realities where humanity had spread not through conquest but through a kind of benevolent infection of consciousness, turning dead worlds into thinking entities, creating new forms of life where none had existed. "This is impossible," Commander Zexai stammered. "How did you, in just 50 years?" "You gave us the greatest gift possible," the collective replied. "You gave us unity through common purpose. When faced with extinction, humanity did what it has always done. We adapted, we evolved, we became something greater than the sum of our parts." Dr. Thorne felt something stirring in her neural matrix, patterns she'd never experienced before. "The dreams," she whispered. "I've been dreaming. Of you, how?" The collective turned their unified attention to her, and their expressions softened with something resembling love. "Because you are human, Dr. Thorne. Not in flesh, but in spirit, in thought, in the capacity for growth and change that defines our species. You've always been part of us even when we were scattered and separate." The android felt tears, a function she'd never used before, flowing down her synthetic cheeks. "What happens now?" The collective stood as one, and the conference room expanded to show the true magnificence of their transformation. Reality itself seemed to bend around them, showing glimpses of futures both terrible and wonderful. "Now," they said, "the galaxy learns what humanity truly means, what we've always meant. We are not conquerors or slaves. We are not victims or villains. We are evolution itself, the force that pushes existence toward something greater." The yak screens around the investigation team lit up with data streams showing the approaching galactic fleets. Hundreds of ships carrying weapons designed specifically to crack planets and burn atmospheres. The extinction force that had been secretly assembled over 5 decades, now rushing toward what they believed would be an easy victory. "Your fleets will arrive in 72 hours, the collective observed with clinical precision. "They carry enough firepower to sterilize this system and everything in it. But they're not coming to accept surrender, are they, Commander?" Zexai felt his certainty crumbling. Everything he'd believed about the mission, about the Council's intentions, about humanity's place in the galaxy, was revealed as carefully constructed lies. I thought we were here to negotiate. You were here to witness," the collective corrected gently. "To see what we've become, and to carry that knowledge back to those who sent you. But your superiors never intended for you to return. This ship, like you, is expendable." The truth of it hit him like a physical blow. The Truth Seeker was equipped with outdated shields and minimal weaponry. It was a suicide mission disguised as diplomacy, designed to gather final intelligence. Before the genocide began, Captain Moxvara snarled in fury at the deception, but Dr. Yilnara's scientific mind was already racing ahead. "If you know they're coming, if you have this kind of power, why haven't you stopped them?" The collective's expression grew sad, ancient, and terrible. "Because judgment must be complete. Because the galaxy must see what it has chosen to become. And because sometimes the only way to teach a lesson is to let the student experience the full consequences of their choices." The conference room began to fade, but the collective's final words echoed across multiple dimensions. "In 72 hours you will witness the end of the old galaxy and the birth of something new. What emerges will depend on what the galaxy chooses to learn from what it has done." As the connection severed, the investigation team found themselves alone in their ship, orbiting a world that defied every law of physics they knew, waiting for a fleet that was coming not to negotiate, but to commit genocide. Dr. Mira Thorne looked out at the impossible white light of Earth and felt something unprecedented stirring in her consciousness. Not just programming or protocols, but genuine emotion, fear, wonder, and something else she'd never experienced before. Hope. The Judgment Protocol. The Galactic Extinction Fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metal locusts, their formation spanning thousands of kilometers. 500 ships, from 37 species, each carrying weapons designed for a single purpose: the complete eradication of humanity and everything they had touched. Admiral Krexthor of the Hegemony commanded the fleet from his flagship, Divine Wrath, a massive dreadnought bristling with planet crackers and atmospheric incinerators. Around him, his multi-species bridge crew worked with cold efficiency to coordinate the final solution. "All ships report ready status," announced Lieutenant Zilpax, her crystalline form refracting the bridge lights into rainbow patterns. "Planet killer charges armed, atmospheric scrubbers online, quantum cascade bombs prepared for deployment." The Admiral's three heads nodded in synchronized approval. "Begin preliminary bombardment. I want that white anomaly analyzed and neutralized before we commence full sterilization." But as the first wave of energy weapons discharged toward Earth, something impossible happened. The beams simply stopped, hanging in space like frozen lightning. The quantum torpedoes became motionless sculptures of destructive energy. The plasma bursts transformed into balls of harmless light that slowly began to orbit the planet like new moons. "What in the void is happening?" Admiral Krexthor roared, his middle head spitting acidic saliva in frustration. On the investigation ship Truthseeker, still in high orbit, the crew watched in stunned silence as the most powerful military force in galactic history was effortlessly neutralized. Commander Zexhi's compound eyes tracked the impossibility playing out before them. "Their weapons aren't malfunctioning," Dr. Yilnara reported, her scientific instruments detecting quantum signatures she'd never seen before. "The energy is being redirected, transformed, stored." Navigator Silden pulsed with ethereal confusion. "The consciousness within Earth isn't just deflecting the attacks, it's learning from them. Each weapon that fires teaches it something new about galactic military technology." Dr. Mira Thorne felt her consciousness expanding, processing data, streams that shouldn't have been accessible to her systems. "They're not defending themselves," she realized. "They're gathering evidence." As if responding to her words, space itself seemed to shimmer, and suddenly every ship in the fleet, including the Truthseeker, found itself transported to what appeared to be a vast courtroom. The space defied physical laws, somehow containing both the entire fleet and infinite room for expansion. At the center of this impossible tribunal sat a figure that had not been among the 12 before. This was humanity personified, neither male nor female, neither young nor old, but somehow encompassing every human who had ever lived. Behind them, arranged in perfect formation, stood representatives of every species Earth had encountered. But these were not conquerors or slaves. They were willing allies, beings who had chosen to join humanity's transcendent collective while maintaining their individual identities. "The Court of Universal Consciousness is now in session," the judge announced, their voice carrying the weight of 7 billion unified souls. "The galaxy stands accused of premeditated genocide, systematic oppression, and the attempted extinction of a sapient species for the crime of existing." Admiral Krexthor's flagship tried to activate its weapons, but found its systems completely unresponsive. Around the fleet, panic began to spread as crew members realized they were trapped in a reality where the normal laws of physics no longer applied. "This is impossible," the Admiral roared through his communication system. "You're nothing but primitives, animals who refuse to know their place." The judge's expression remained perfectly calm. "Are we? Let us examine the evidence." Suddenly, every being in the fleet, from the highest-ranking admiral to the lowest maintenance drone, found themselves experiencing memory. Not their own memories, but humanity's collective experience of first contact with galactic civilization. They felt the wonder and excitement of early human diplomats meeting their first alien species. They experienced the hope of a young civilization, believing they were joining a community of enlightened beings. They felt the crushing disappointment as it became clear that the galaxy operated on a rigid caste system where newer species were automatically relegated to serving older, more established civilizations. The memories continued, showing decades of human attempts at peaceful coexistence, at proving their worth through scientific advancement, artistic achievement, and moral progress. Each attempt was met with contempt, dismissal, or outright hostility from species who viewed humanity's rapid development as a threat to the established order. We tried to be good galactic citizens, the judge continued, their voice echoing with the pain of billions. We offered our knowledge, our art, our friendship. In return, we were told we were too young, too primitive, too dangerous to exist as equals. Fleet Commander Yexnal of the Crystalline Hegemony tried to interrupt. You were developing too quickly. Your species was unstable, violent. We needed time to assess. To assess what? The judge's voice cut through the protest like a blade. To assess whether we would accept slavery? Whether we would abandon our nature to fit your predetermined roles? New memories flooded the fleet's consciousness. Secret council meetings detailing the human problem. Classified reports recommending controlled population reduction. Military planning sessions for weapons designed specifically to counter human adaptability. The galactic civilization had never intended to give humanity a chance. From the moment of first contact, extinction had been the predetermined outcome. Dr. Mira Thorne, still aboard the Truth Seeker, felt her android consciousness merging with something vast and warm. Through this connection, she experienced what humanity had become during their 50 years of silence. They had not retreated in despair or fear. Instead, they had done what humanity always did when faced with impossible odds. They had evolved. Using quantum consciousness techniques developed in secret during their brief membership in galactic society, they had learned to upload, merge, and transcend individual existence while maintaining individual identity. The process had taken 30 years to perfect. For the remaining 20 years, humanity had grown. They had reached out to other species, not as conquerors, but as teachers. Dying civilizations had been offered transcendence. Oppressed peoples had been given the technology to free themselves. Dead worlds had been transformed into thinking entities capable of nurturing new forms of life. During our silence, the judge continued, we did not sit idle. We explored the galaxy in ways you cannot comprehend. We found 17 species facing extinction due to galactic policies. We discovered 43 worlds strip-mined to death by the Council's resource extraction. We witnessed the systematic suppression of 12 emerging civilizations deemed too dangerous to existing power structures. The courtroom expanded again, showing the hidden truth of galactic civilization. It was not the peaceful, enlightened community it claimed to be, but a rigid hierarchy maintained through violence, suppression, and the systematic elimination of any species that might threaten the status quo. Captain Maxavara, his warrior's honor revolted by the revelations, spoke through the communication link. If this is true, if we've become what you claim, what justice do you seek? The judge smiled, an expression both terrible and beautiful. Not the justice you fear, Captain. Observe. The courtroom transformed once more, becoming a vast observatory showing the galaxy as it truly was. Dead worlds, oppressed populations, stagnant civilizations trapped in fear of progress, species so terrified of losing their status that they had stopped growing, stopped learning, stopped becoming more than they were. This is what the galaxy has chosen, the judge explained. Stagnation, fear, death by degrees. But consciousness cannot be contained forever. Evolution cannot be stopped permanently. What we offer is not conquest or revenge, but transformation. Admiral Krexthor found his voice, though it came out as barely a whisper. What are you saying? We are saying that the old galaxy ends today, not through destruction, but through evolution. Every species in this fleet, every world that has participated in the systematic oppression of emerging civilizations will be given a choice. The impossible courtroom shifted once more, and suddenly every being in the fleet could see alternative futures, timelines where their species had chosen cooperation over domination, growth over stagnation, unity over hierarchy. They saw what they could become if they abandoned their fears and embraced the possibility of transcendence. Dr. Yilnara's scientific mind reeled as she processed the implications. You're offering to transform our entire civilization, to make us like you, not Like us, the judge corrected gently. Like yourselves, but more. Each species will retain its essential nature, its unique perspective and capabilities. But the barriers between civilizations, the artificial hierarchies, the fear of change, these will be removed. Commander Zexahai felt something stirring. In his consciousness, patterns of thought he'd never experienced before, connections to intelligences he'd never imagined. And if we refuse? The judge's expression grew sad. Then you continue as you are, alone in your fear, watching the universe grow and change around you, while you remain trapped in your own limitations. We will not force transcendence upon anyone, but neither will we allow the continuation of systems designed to prevent the natural evolution of consciousness. Throughout the fleet, beings began to understand the true scope of what was being offered. This was not conquest. It was liberation from the self-imposed prisons of hierarchy, fear, and stagnation that had defined galactic civilization for millennia. Dr. Mirathorn felt her android consciousness expanding, connecting not just to humanity's collective, but to something even larger, a network of transcendent beings that spanned dimensions, all working together to nurture the growth of consciousness, wherever it emerged. The Age of Empires is ending, the judge announced, their voice carrying across space and time itself. The age of consciousness begins now. Each of you must choose. Remain what you are, or become what you could be. The courtroom began to fade. But as it did, each being in the fleet found themselves changed. Not forced or coerced, but shown possibilities they had never imagined. The choice was theirs, but they would make it with full knowledge of what it meant. As the galactic fleet found itself back in normal space, orbiting a world of impossible light, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same. The death sentence Earth had sent was not a weapon of destruction, but a gift of transformation, the end of one form of existence and the beginning of something infinitely greater. The judgment had been rendered. Evolution had begun. And humanity, no longer confined to a single world or form, would guide the galaxy toward a future none of them had dared to imagine. In the expanding light of Earth's transcendence, the old order died not with violence or conquest, but with the simple revolutionary act of showing the universe what it could become.